You're tuned into the stellar award-winning internet radio station.
You're at the right place at the right time.
Yes, Lord Radio.
Hold up. Wait just a minute. It's Roz on your radio.
Keep it locked right here.
Showcase, fellowship, inspire. Showcase.
Hey, it's Roz on the radio.
Showcase, fellowship, inspire.
Yes, Lord Radio. Now it's time for another Yes, Lord Radio exclusive.
Hey everybody, it's Roz on the radio, and you're listening to another YLR exclusive. My guest today is journalist, analyst, author, and host of Washington Watch. It's Roland Martin, who's here today to talk about what's unfolding as we get closer to the November presidential elections. But Roland, thanks so much for joining us today.
No problem. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you. Now, I've been following you since your days on CNN during the '08 presidential election, and I love, of course, your coverage and political insight. But tell us how you became involved in Washington politics.
Well, actually, I've covered city council, county government. I've covered state government. But interviewed national officials, and so I really prefer not to be solely focused on Washington politics because, frankly, our politics in this country really are local as well. And so obviously what takes place in the nation's capital is important, but it's also important for folks to realize that there's so many aspects of what takes place in our society that could happen outside of Washington, D.C., and we must be able to sort of bring truth and shed light what happens around the country and not just be so fixated on what happens in Washington.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Now, speaking of that, I saw a comment that you posted on Twitter that I really connected with. And you said that as a Christian, we are taught to save souls, and I have the same zeal when it comes to voting. So just briefly want to touch on voting. Some people are, of course, super excited about voting. Other people, not so much. But prior to the '08 presidential elections, we took a group of girls into neighboring low-income communities to assist with voter registration and to encourage people to vote. And what was most surprising to me was how many people did not want to get involved at all in the political process. They didn't think that it even mattered to them, regardless of who the president could have been. So can you share with us some of the most important reasons that we should care about this election and why our listeners should consider voting?
Well, first of all, part of the problem that we have with people is that they don't consider voting to be a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. That is, they see this as sort of this optional thing. The fact of the matter is, what takes place in the halls of Congress, the White House, what takes place in state houses, city hall, county commissioner's court, has an impact on your life every single day. Nearly every aspect of our lives are impacted by voting. I'll give an example. I hear people say, "Oh, we shouldn't vote because Supreme Court, that's the final arbiter of the laws." Well, first of all, the president appoints Supreme Court justices.
That's right.
The Senate confirms those justices. So how do we act like voting doesn't even impact the Supreme Court? Who you vote for matters when it comes to who they're going to pick. Also, when you begin to talk about water, you begin to talk about food, you begin to talk about roads. Okay, let's say you live somewhere and there's a railroad track that doesn't have a rail there and lights there. Well, guess what? You can petition the government to say, we need to have railroad crossings here. Mm-hmm. Who do you think erects those things? If you have people who are driving through your neighborhood and they are driving too fast and kids are playing, who do you think is going to put the speed bumps down on the road to keep folks from flying through there? Let's say you have a corner somewhere and you don't have a stop sign and people are just rolling through and it's somehow impacting people being able to walk around their neighborhood. Government, that's where you petition to put a stop sign there, to put a stoplight there. Mm-hmm. And so every aspect of our lives, government plays a role. And when people check out of the process, but they'll turn right around and complain about something, and I'm saying you're the problem. And so my philosophy is real simple. If you don't vote, shut up. I know that might sound harsh. I know people say, well, that's not real Christian-like. But guess what? Shut up. Because all you're doing is running your mouth, complaining when you could have had an opportunity to impact who was in office. Now, I know somebody listening saying, well, that's just one vote.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? George W. Bush was certified as the winner in Florida. He was leading by 537 votes. So you tell me right now,
Yeah.
if there are not 538 people in Florida who are saying, man, had I voted, I could have been the difference maker.
Yeah.
In North Carolina in 2008, then Senator Obama won North Carolina by 14,100 votes. He won Indiana by less than 1%. He lost Missouri by 4,000 votes. You tell me that if somebody in Missouri is saying, man, if we could have got 4,001 more people to vote, Obama could have won Missouri. And so local elections, I've seen elections won by 100, 200, 300, 80 votes. And so I don't want to hear anybody say, well, my vote isn't going to matter.
Right.
At the end of the day, if you're sitting here saying it's not going to matter and it's not important, then shut up. Complain about nothing. If you're some student out there listening right now and you're going, well, it's not going to matter, fine. Well, then you don't go apply for a Pell Grant because President Obama pushed through the student loan bill that freed up an additional $60 billion in Pell Grants.
Wow.
So you just go ahead and skip that. Just skip that. If you're a student and you say it's not going to matter, fine. You don't apply for a Pell Grant because that's how we have more Pell Grants because of that bill being passed. And if he wasn't elected, would that have been the bill being passed? No, it wouldn't. So, all right, if you're somebody out there 23 years old right now and you and your parents' health insurance due to the Affordable Care Act, or you have a pre-existing health condition right now, and then you now can actually get insurance, you tell me it doesn't matter who you elect in the White House, who you elect in Congress, and who you elect in the State House.
Wow. That, in a nutshell, we definitely needed to hear that. Yeah.
Right. People simply don't understand this particular issue. If you're sitting out there, you literally, look, cities operate city-owned pools. Okay, who do you think is deciding those hours?
Yeah.
And so what happens? We go, well, we need to have more activities for our children. Well, guess what? Somebody has to pay for what's happening with the Parks and Recreation Department.
Yeah.
Who do you think is paying for it? You got neighborhoods right now where you have overgrown, where you got abandoned houses, overgrown lots that are black in the neighborhoods. Well, guess who can come in and tear those abandoned homes down and cut those overgrown lots? City government can. So you tell me it doesn't matter who that city council member is if somebody says, I don't care about the abandoned houses in your neighborhood. I don't care about stepped-up police patrols in your neighborhood. So people need to sit down and stop with this nonsense and say, wait a minute. Look at my entire life and look at what's around me. How am I impacted by the political process every single day?
Right. So what's the deal with this 47%?
Well, the deal is Mitt Romney at the fundraiser in Florida, he made this statement that the 47% of the people who right now are supporting President Obama, these people don't have personal responsibility. They don't pay federal income taxes. All they want is free food, free clothing, and free housing. But really what he was doing is that 47% of the country doesn't pay federal income tax. Well, there's a reason for that. And the reason for that is half of those people are elderly in this country. A significant number of people don't even make enough money. Some people are making less than $20,000. Yes, living off of less than $20,000.
Wow.
And so you have all of that going on. And so what you got is Mitt Romney over here, who is saying, in terms of, well, these folks should be paying taxes, and basically he's calling them moochers, living off the rest of us. Well, sorry, those folks don't have the income to actually pay. I mean, they simply aren't making the money. You also have tax credits in this country. One of the other reasons why people are unable to actually pay taxes because you have earned income tax credit, you have mortgage deductions. You have different tax credits out there, and somehow it's like these guys forget these facts, and they just sort of want to overlook these things, and so they want to blame these folks, saying, well, we're the ones paying the dole. But here's the deal, though. People they are paying payroll tax. They're paying sales tax. If they're homeowners, they're paying property taxes. And so it's real easy to demonize them and say, oh, we're the ones out here busting our butt working. Well, guess what? 70% of the American economy is based upon consumer spending.
Right.
So as Americans, we need those people spending in the economy for our economy to go. So to demonize them and to somehow act as if, they are somehow just lazy, I mean, come on, just utter nonsense.
So just a lot of misinformation floating around right now. I'm so...
No, don't call it misinformation. Call it facts. No, see, no. When
We
you
don't
were
want to
talking to your
sugarcoat
parents,
it.
You were lying. You were lying. You're using a Washington, D.C. term. A Washington, D.C. term is there are misrepresentations,
Yeah.
that's a mischaracterization. No, a lie is a lie.
A lie.
Call a lie a lie.
Wow. That's good. Well, I'm not going to focus on being politically correct because it is. It's at the truth of the matter, it is a lie. But knowing the issues certainly helps us to make an informed decision about what we need to do in November. But you bring that to us every Sunday on Washington Watch.
Yep, every Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern. We talk about these issues. We break it all down. And not only that, I do it online. I do it on my website, RolandMrMartin.com, RolandMartinReports.com. I do it on Twitter and Facebook. I mean, look, we have more access to information than we've ever had, and for some reason, folks are dumber these days.
Wow.
And I just think people need to stop sitting around, saying, I don't know. Well, get off your butt and stop sitting here tweeting about Real Housewives and love and hip-hop and say, hey, I need to be talking about what's affecting my life every single day.
Yeah. Tell us again how to stay connected with you.
It's easy. My handle on Twitter is Roland S. Martin. I got a Facebook like page as well as profile page. And, of course, the website, the news site is RolandMartinReports.com.
Well, it's been such a pleasure, and thanks, guys, for joining us again for another YLR exclusive. I'm your host, Roz on the Radio.
You're tuned into the stellar award-winning internet radio station.
Showcase.
You're at the right place at the right time.
Yes, Lord Radio. Showcase.
You're at the right place at the right time.
Yes, Lord Radio.
Showcase, fellowship, inspire.
Hey, everybody, it's Roz on the Radio, bringing you the YLR exclusives from your favorite artist. Follow me on Twitter and Facebook.com/Roz on the Radio to find out who's next. You're listening to YesLordRadio.com. Showcase, fellowship, inspire.